But you guys have a little drink. Have a little drink. Enjoy yourselves. It's either deadly and you need to do that, or it's either you're lying to us and there's something deeper and darker that you're trying to control people for, but you guys can do what you want.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Men Used to Go to War, but now all we do is make podcasts. And today we are talking about conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories. So that was a little bit of a list there, didn't I? Alright, so.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the best conspiracy theories that maybe have circulated the internet, circulated social media, and circulated the world over the last, I guess there's a time frame with one of them is the last 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
Given one of them.
So I think, as a little intro, my stance is I'm not a big believer of this alternative way of thinking. But
you are?
I'm not.
Okay.
Right? But Mr. Sangha here is going to give us his insights and thoughts, and basically try and educate me on this alternative way of thinking.
Apparently, I am a conspiracy theorist, according to Tesh, whereas, as he just mentioned, he took the words from me that I'm an alternative thinker. I like to be open to all possibilities of the universe, of the world, and everything out there. And I'm someone, I don't like just taking what someone tells me as face value. I like to question it, I like to challenge it, and I like to come to my own conclusion. And that's the idea of anything in life, even if it's coming to like my health, my diet, exercise.
It's always important.
It's always like it's good to have your own independent view, so you know who you are as a person, rather than the world telling you what you should believe in. But I guess the question is like, conspiracy theories maybe were never really a thing before growing up. It's only something that's come around in the last 10 years or so as social media has come to light.
I wouldn't agree with that.
You think they existed before?
Yeah.
Not in such a mainstream way.
Not in a mainstream way, but people don't believe people landed on the moon. They think that's and so forth. So conspiracy theories have been around.
They've existed, but in terms of the transparency of them and the conversations around them, that hasn't existed as much without social media, because someone can post a piece of information, someone can post something online, and it kind of sparks a debate and conversation where people start attracting and being flooded to it. But I guess it comes from the sense of like the society we live in now, the world that we live in, what we've seen over, from geopolitics to the pandemic to wars. The brain craves order and patterns to make rational sense of what is happening. Yeah. And I think that is one reason, not has led me to it, but some of these things that have happened in the world, logically, with all the expertise we have, with all the people in charge in our governments, it kind of begs you the question, are these people that incompetent that these things are just happening as a natural product of life? Or is there something deeper and darker potentially going on where we as the everyday person aren't aware as much?
All right, so should we get into your first one?
Yeah, we can go into the first one.
The first one is COVID, the pandemic.
Yeah, we can talk about COVID. I feel like I remember when we, in our friendship circle, I'll send you guys videos and you guys would like ridicule me. Do you remember that?
Probably, yeah.
You'd be like, no, you're crazy. But, I stand by what I believe in.
Okay.
I'm always open to new ideas, though. I'm never just going to be like, it's not like this is the right way.
Okay.
I'm always open to like understanding things. But I guess, there's multiple angles to look at this COVID situation from. I think we'll just go straight into it. Did you get the vaccination?
I did not get the vaccination.
So, do you know people who did?
Yes, I do know people who did.
I didn't get the vaccination. I guess my reason was because I felt it was something that was produced quite quickly, the vaccine itself. It was a form of technology which I don't know. You can obviously look in personal research. I'm not a scientist, but it uses a technology called mRNA vaccine technology, which is something that has historically not been done. It's been in development. However, through emergency legislation and authorization, it was able to be used in this scenario. So for one reason, for me off the bat, it was like, oh, this is a new form of technology. I didn't want to use it, so let's see how it goes. But coming from that, there are people that I knew personally know. I don't know if there's people that you personally know that had bad reactions to it and had health consequences
Due to it, yeah.
linked to it that they never had before. People that I know and around me, I've seen my mum have health issues. I have my own kind of 1+1=2 theory of like, it only really happened after you started taking this. My brother took it. He's openly said to me, I wish I never took it because I've seen my hair started falling out after this and XYZ has happened. So, and I've actually spoken to people who've kind of said like, after I took the second one, I was having heart palpitations. I was in bed thinking I'm gonna die. Like people have actually said that to me. So I guess the first area around this, why this is a conspiracy in my mind, is because one, if we look at it now, was the vaccine even needed? Because it only give you immunity for like what, 2-3 months?
So let me just actually say why I never got the vaccine.
Okay.
Firstly, I never got the vaccine because I had COVID, and I was like, I've survived COVID. I've had
But there were plenty of people who had the COVID and then took the vaccine.
right? And so I was like, I think my immunity's built a resistance to it. So I was like, I don't really need it. Again, I was very skeptical about how it kind of the speed of it. So I was like, let other people have it first, and I'll see
Let
how
them
it
be
goes.
the guinea pigs.
Let them be the guinea pigs, and I was like, actually, I don't think I need it, so I didn't have it. So that's why I never had it. Again, I know of multiple people who have had the jab as well and wish they never had it as well. So I agree with you on that point of view.
Okay,
So
I appreciate that. The other thing, which I found weird about like this being, the thing is, these are things in isolation, maybe you think, oh, you'll rub them off, but when all of them add up, it kind of brings a whole picture to it. So this point that I'm making regarding whether COVID was a man-made pandemic was in 2019, there was an event called 201,
okay,
which is basically, for those who don't know, a pandemic simulation. So I'm just looking at my phone just to refer to my notes that I've made for this, because obviously,
there's a lot to go through. Yeah.
yeah. So it was essentially an exercise that was done in advance if a pandemic was likely to hit the world, where countries came together and essentially done preparation exercises to simulate if this type of pandemic did happen, how would we react to it? And this happened in October 2019, couple months before the outbreak. And for me personally, it could be random. It could be random, but at the same time,
Quite coincidental.
it's like it was in New York. It was organized by the Johns Hopkins Center for Health, which is a very reputable foundation. It was with the World Economic Forum, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was also involved. It basically modeled a global coronavirus outbreak to test coordination among governments, businesses, and international institutions. It was in New York, October 18, 2019. So I'm just reading the notes, basically. And it had very reputable people from different countries involved in it,
Okay.
essentially.
So basically, phase one was they did a simulation of how countries would react if
Yeah.
a pandemic did occur.
Yeah, so they've not planted the seed into the mind of the population, but kind of like normalizing it before it happened, so it's not like a shock if it did happen.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So just to be devil's advocate, what is it? What could it have just been like? They were trying to prepare for.
Yeah, it was trying to prepare. It could have been random,
Okay.
and I think in isolation it can be looked at random. But I think when you see all these different other things adding up,
Okay.
it kind of makes you question: was it really random, or was it actually something wider happening that's a bit deeper and darker? The other area is the British government. I don't think the way the British government went about things was in all in all seriousness, was aligned to what they were telling us.
Yeah.
And I think we can see that by the way that they were acting behind closed doors, having parties, disrespecting the social distancing that they have told us, the masks, they were like drinking in their offices. I think if you're telling the government that you can't go see loved ones who are potentially in hospital dying, you're having video Zoom
Yep.
funerals and shit, but you guys are having a drink after work, you're kind of gathering in groups.
Having parties. Yeah.
That is wild to me. That is like when that kind of saw that, I was like, why are you above? You clearly know something that we don't know. You clearly know something that we don't know. Is the way why if it is this deadly, because when it first started, I told you, I was like, nah, everyone needs to wear masks, everyone needs to stay at home, everyone needs to lock down. No, we can't be interacting with each other. I was like, why are they not doing this quicker? I was like, I was on that. But when I started seeing stuff unraveling and where people were like, not just the government, but how other things went
But
about.
the UK government, through the whole period, was a complete shit
Okay,
show. They were a complete shit
so
show.
you're telling me that's an excuse? If this thing is so deadly, it's killing people, you need to lock down the whole world, yeah? But you guys have a little drink. Have a little drink. Enjoy yourselves. It's either deadly and you need to do that, or it's either you're lying to us and there's something deeper and darker that you're trying to control people for, but you guys can do what you want.
Okay.
Is the way I personally saw that. And also attached is the way that they handled elderly people, especially in care homes, sending them back to these care homes by themselves, not allowing any people to visit them. They knew that these care homes were infected with the virus, and just allowing people to die like that, I think it's a very big form of negligence. And I don't know. I don't think to a logical person, I'm not in charge of policy.
So do you want to hear my counter theory to
Yeah.
the arguments?
But the government, yeah.
Okay, so firstly, so they just didn't know how to handle the situation. And let's be honest, it was a complete shit show, right? They don't have a single excuse of holding parties and so forth. And the whole care home situation.
But if it was so bad, Tesh,
yeah,
if it was so bad and you told you can't see your loved ones, you can't even have funerals, you can't have weddings, you can't do X, Y, Z, you got to watch your loved ones die through a camera. But you guys, no, you guys do that, but we can have a little drink at work. We can have a little party. Tell me,
Yeah, no, I completely...
What is that? How can that be justified?
I think they just wanted to do it. I don't think there was anything behind it.
But then it wasn't that bad. If they could do that, then why couldn't you go see people?
I didn't believe it was that bad either. But they had to stop people somehow of actually being in large crowds and stop them going out. Because actually, if they did do that and everything carried on normal, it would have spread a lot quicker.
But like you said, people would have become immune a lot quicker.
A lot more people would have died as well. And then following that, there's obviously panic stations around getting...
toilet paper.
There's other panic stations there. But getting a vaccine together. So obviously, from my understanding, it did go through all the proper testing and it was all speeded up very quickly, but it was needed. So a lot.
I think the people that are giving the advice need to follow their own advice to make it trustworthy and credible.
What was the? I think my question is, what was the kind of goal of creating? So, but essentially, you're saying
I guess it's different things.
A pandemic.
Yeah, the conspiracy theory is that it's a man-made pandemic with consequences in different ways. The thing is, one of the things is the vaccine itself it's never been seen before or authorized. It only got authorized under emergency use.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's been put into us. Essentially, people have had health issues, whether it's directly through conditions such as myocarditis and pericarditis, which are actual heart issues that people have suffered from, or subsequent health issues that have been caused that for various reasons that I've seen.
Okay, but what has the government or whoever made this man-made was man-made?
There's also been
What have they got?
wealth
Okay.
transfers. There's been massive wealth transfers between the everyday person, small businesses, and the wealthiest people in the world. So since the pandemic, the people at the top, the wealthiest people in society, have factually increased their wealth dramatically, whilst those at the bottom, their wealth has decreased. So the
And
shift in wealth transfer and the actions and consequences that impacted small businesses has the actions that got put into place impacted lots of small businesses and livelihoods from that standpoint to make their lives a lot more difficult.
now you put it into that
So
kind
the
of
lockdowns like devastated small businesses and corporations and billionaires gained a lot of wealth from this.
okay, but no, so now you put it into that perspective. I it kind of makes sense because there was life pre-COVID and there's life post-COVID, and there is a significant larger divide, a cost of living crisis, and actually now you put it into that kind of view, there potentially. I'm not saying there is something there, but there potentially
There's such
could
a like
be,
a shift.
could be
Yeah,
something
there's
there.
such a direction, a shift. I'm not saying like that one thing shifted. It did shift the world, but the world since then is going in such a different direction. There's the World Economic Forum, which adds to this, is that they had like a Vision 2030, I think it's called, and part of it was like you will own nothing and you will be happy. So the everyday person will be not own anything. And we see that less home ownership, less car ownership, less. I don't know. There's a lot more financial enslavement. We
Subscription
live in a
model, right?
subscription model world where a lot
We're
more people are
renting, we're leasing.
leasing. People are living more paycheck to paycheck. You see it with things like Klarna, ClearPay. You can literally use those if you don't have the money to kind of buy it or pay for it upfront. You can spread those payments across to like not financially enslave yourself, but you're just in a cycle of continuous payments where you don't actually own anything. People have lost the hope of home ownership. Used to be a very achievable goal for most people that used to work towards. Now a lot of young people are
Yes.
disillusioned by it. They don't see the point in ownership in those
Okay.
types of things. So I think that the way that we are being impacted financially and financially enslaved did start from that period in COVID where it was like a shift to take the world in a different direction.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting. Now you put it into that kind of view, I kind of understand more where you're coming from and why it may have occurred.
and it's like, in
Cool.
fact, if it's actual like institutions in the world that shift global policy, putting this information out, it's not just someone on the internet making a video. It's actually the World Economic Forum is a very reputable institution in the world that is making these claims that they're saying you will own nothing and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, it's kind of worrying if someone was to hear that. And I guess the last thing as well, just before we go into the next one, is that people online have made links between the Wuhan lab, whether it was just a random leak or if it was something that was being built and designed through funding from Dr. Fauci, who was based in America. So America funding this Wuhan lab and a research piece of work that was being carried out and that then got exposed to the world. Whereas we were kind of told that, oh, it's just this random leak and XYZ happened and it managed to get out. Whereas there have been people who have shown Dr. Fauci, who's obviously he wasn't part of obviously the US government, but he was a very pivotal role in the advisory
Yeah.
of the response to this to the US government. So that information that he was working with this lab shows that could it have accidentally happened as we reported, or was there something more strategic about it? There was US funding supporting research at this Wuhan lab. So therefore Western kind of institutions may have indirect responsibility of contributing towards it in that regard. Because the idea is that it's an accidental leak, there was negligence, then it's like or it's like an intentional release. And the natural origins of it have never really been proven as well, from my understanding. And there are people still. I saw a tweet from a senator who is like formally trying to go after Dr. Fauci to hold him accountable for him working with this Wuhan lab. And even like, I think last week I saw something of trying to get the accountability to hold him for this. But yeah, we can wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think from your view, okay, I
just think it's something, in terms of the way the world is going, the way that the world went, the way people had to experience COVID, the lockdowns, the way the government behaved, the financial wealth transfer, I think it just wasn't a random coincidence that this virus happened.
I kind of see your view now. I kind of see where you're coming from, and there are points that you've given that I actually I do agree with you. There's definitely something there. So I might actually go away and do some more research on my own.
But you as someone who hasn't been vaccinated, so you're free from.
Yeah,
the
but
poison.
I think that was just kind of what I felt right at that time. Cool. So let's move on to your next theory.
Jeffrey Epstein, hey?
Okay.
A wealthy, well-connected figure convicted of serious crimes involving underage and minors, and he maintained relationships with people of interest across politics, business, and even royalty. I guess the conspiracy here is that all these people that he was connected with knew about his behavior and facilitated it. Obviously, it's come to light the person that he was, what his activities that he was up to, and it is still in motion of the Epstein files being released to the public. But obviously a lot of it, I believe from my understanding, is still quite hidden, so no one truly knows.
Yeah.
But going back to the conspiracies, that people knew who he was and people knew what he was doing, and I don't want to say that they were part of it, but they were facilitating it.
Yeah, I don't think that's really much of a conspiracy theory. I think that is.
I guess the conspiracies that, in a wider sense, is that the elite people, I guess it kind of, even with the P. Diddy thing that went on as well, is that at the elite level, human trafficking is a very normalized.
Yeah.
Human trafficking in that sense is a very normalized.
People in powerful positions, you don't know how they're reacting and what they're getting up to.
I guess the Jeffrey Epstein example just sheds more light on it, because he was the person who got convicted and he got caught doing these activities. However, it could easily be still happening amongst people that we don't know. But for example, we see all these people as just normal celebrities, right? Bill Gates, we think he's this Microsoft founder, philanthropist, trying to make the world a better place. But he's actually been seen and been friends with people like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep.
If he's actually friends with this person, it kind of makes you question, isn't he involved in it, but he's in these networks of where these activities are essentially happening.
Yep.
And I guess some of the questions around Jeffrey Epstein in particular, and the conspiracy around it, is that I guess after he got caught and he was in his cell, he so-called committed suicide whilst in custody. So he died in prison in 2019. It was officially ruled as a suicide. Obviously, he's a high-profile prisoner, given what's happened. And there were apparently failures in monitoring from the guards. The cameras weren't working, and he just managed to hang himself as a high-profile prisoner in a cell.
There's definitely something a lot more sinister to that then. Yeah, that is, I believe there's definitely something.
And I think just starting with that is the single biggest driver of an ongoing. Because if this person has done X, Y, Z, you would make sure that all eyes are on him. Nothing's going to happen to him. He's going to be going to trial, and he's going to be convicted of everything he's done.
I believe he has been murdered, but that's to kind of
But why has he been murdered?
why has he been murdered?
To be
Something like-
silenced.
to be silenced because he was gonna name and
Yeah.
shame quite a lot.
Because
of
there
people,
were
do you know what
deeper
I
and
mean?
darker things happening
Yeah, no, definitely.
above himself,
Yeah.
in a sense.
So I don't. Again, I don't. I agree with this conspiracy theory. I believe that there's definitely something more to
Yeah.
the whole Jeffrey Epstein case than
It's just a random guy who was
made to
trafficking
believe.
some minors.
Yeah.
Because then it goes to the question of how did he get away with it for so long in the first place, right? He avoided serious consequences for years. I think it was in 2008. He had like a plea deal which was very lenient, where he got a plea deal, but I don't think he'd done much time in prison, or he could do it from. I can't remember what the consequences of it was, but he did not have to spend much time in prison essentially. And there was like a sense that there was a sense of like he got some sort of preferential treatment from this, and it suggests that there was this system that protected this powerful individual, and it was kind of like how and why was he getting that treatment?
Yeah.
And the people he associated with before that, some of them still continued to associate themselves with him after that, after knowing what he was doing. And people did still be seen with him after. Obviously, you hear about Epstein's Island, for example. You hear about the people that visited and the stories that were there. It's like, if these people were visiting and these people were there, they heard the stories of what was happening, why were they still a part of this?
Yeah. But,
And it goes to that kind of wider circle, like all these people, they're in on it. This normal for them. This kind of activity, this activity
I
and
don't
behavior.
think you can say like that. When you say they're in on it, it's just
They're
normal.
part of it.
It's normal behavior for them. They think they can get away with anything. They have friends in powerful positions, so it's not being in on it. It's just a common occurrence for them. I think, as you previously touched on, I think it's just kind of a normal way of life for them. So again,
But then that goes back to the question of people like Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew. Why should we, if this is their way of living, why do we look up to these people as a trustworthy source? Why do we trust them to be in like positions of power?
because they have
The idea that
resources,
they
so much
operate
money and
but
finances.
they operate by these different rules. They feel that they're untouchable.
I think society has proven they are untouchable. There's nothing a lot of people we can do, to be honest with you.
But is it more? No, but I think in a sense that people would look at like Bill Gates and think, "Oh, what an amazing guy." But now, would you kind of second guess and question that? Would you think that this person has my best interest? A person who has potentially been involved with someone like Jeffrey Epstein? When if he told you, "Oh, I think you should stop having meat because you need to save the world," would you think, you actually were hanging around with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not gonna listen to him anymore. Or just be like, yeah, you know what? You're such a philanthropist. You're founder of Microsoft. Like, would you second question?
I never really looked up to Bill Gates in that.
But a lot of people would
manner, to be
like kind
honest
of
with you.
do.
I've never really. I thought I'm just thinking it of.
I think a lot of people not look up to him in that sense, but it's like there is that, oh, he's this amazing guy in the media. Like he's got a Netflix documentary about all the work he's done in different countries, but you can't take away like the other side.
Okay, what about? Like, obviously, you're pro Donald Trump, right?
I wouldn't say I'm pro Donald Trump, especially not now. I said in his previous term and kind of his ideas of wanting to make America strong again, bring back kind of production that was offshore into America to put American people first. I like that. But given what he's done in the Middle East, no, I'm not anymore.
But then again, he's been pictured with Jeffrey Epstein
Yeah.
and so forth. I know you said that.
And I do look at him in a different light.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at him in a different light after seeing him in that regard. Okay. I don't see him in the same way that maybe I saw him. Aside from his politics, I don't look like, if I knew someone that I kind of looked up to, regardless, if I looked up to them in a favourable light and I saw them with him, I'll be like the opposite. Because it holds true.
All right, so shall we move on to... I think to summarise that, I think, I agree with you. The whole Epstein thing, there's definitely something more to it. his death is a lot more sinister than we are led to believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, cool. Let's move on to your third.
The third and final one is that 9/11 wasn't random. I'm not saying it was an inside job, but at the same time, and this is not to be disrespectful to the lives that got lost or impacted in any shape or form, because I think nearly 3,000 people died, but it's in the sense of, I don't think the actions of that day were necessary. I'm not saying that I'll be open to the idea that they weren't random,
Yeah.
essentially. The first thing I guess is, so we got sold, or the US more so, even the UK, because the UK went to war as well, into Afghanistan and Iraq, as there was weapons of mass destructions, and there's this war on terror that this is the reason why we need to go into, but it never got found. These weapons of mass destruction, firstly, from my understanding, they never got found. But what did happen consequently is these countries were bombed to death, civilians, local people's lives were ruined, and these countries had natural resources that are of interest to countries like the US and the UK, where we now had access to them. The obviously big one being oil. And we can kind of see that now as well playing out. Venezuela, Iran, other places in the Middle East that happen, Libya. There are natural resources across the world that countries like the US, like the UK, will go and take if they feel that they require it. And I feel like now as time has gone on, we've seen that play out in different ways. The struggle for natural resources in the world and controlling the distribution of them as well. So geopolitics is very tied to like resources and energy, and that gave those countries a reason to just go in and take them, right?
Oh, so you're saying basically 9/11 was basically, you're saying 9/11 was an inside job. So they had a reason to go into Iran.
Yeah, because the thing was
and
after that,
Afghanistan.
basically this has happened. There's weapons of mass destruction.
They-
This gives
they-
us this.
they're
This
a
gives us
threat
the
to us.
This is a threat to us. This is the pretense to like rationalize going into these countries, bombing them, and taking in the resources. It like enabled geopolitically the US to expand its influence and reshape governments as well in key regions across. We saw Libya as one of those. Gaddafi was a prominent figure. Libya was a country that was doing well for itself economically. He had certain views that he wanted to take the country in and to be like self-sustaining. He was very anti-America, and he would speak out against them. And what happened when he was doing that? He got toppled. The US came in and they put another person in place. And we've seen it across multiple countries in the Middle East, where if they are not acting in alignment with US interests, these countries get destabilized, the person gets overthrown, and they kind of get into these war-torn countries. Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria.
Okay.
There is a bit of a pattern that has happened that has allowed America to increase its geopolitical control from this initial outset of events.
Okay. I
Because
think-
just going
I think-
into countries,
I feel like America have taken advantage of going into these countries and have
it got normalized.
being like, actually these guys have got weapons of mass destruction. There could be an actual fear of it being true. The fact they are flying aeroplanes into buildings to find a reason to go into these countries, I think is a one step too far. I don't think they would have done that. Is there anything that within the theory that actually kind of
I mean,
gives you idea why
people have made significant investigations, significant videos in terms of the collapse of the Twin Towers and the World Trade Center building.
Okay.
And they've said structurally and from an engineering point of view, from an aviation point of view, the way that the buildings collapsed didn't technically make sense.
Yeah.
They've challenged that idea. I'm not going to go into the details because
I've seen that, yeah.
But like question that the way that these buildings were designed, the way that the planes went into them, how did they then like structurally collapse in that way? So it's created this kind of doubt to alternative explanations of like, how did they then collapse? Was there a bomb in the building that then triggered it to collapse? And obviously most people like you and I, we don't understand structural engineering. We don't
I
understand.
understand that, but I don't think they would have scenario tested aeroplanes flying into the building. They would have scenario tested against earthquakes and
We don't know that.
certain
We
events.
don't know that.
But
We're guessing.
even if they did scenario test aeroplanes flying into the building, how accurate could they have been? Thinking of the force and the speed a plane is flying into a building, how can they accurately say, oh, structurally, it will do this and do that?
But I guess it's post it happening, people have investigated why the towers collapsed in that way. And
So,
they're kind of they're challenging that.
What do you mean? How it collapsed in what?
Because obviously, like, the planes went in, right?
Yep.
And then the buildings just, at a certain point, literally collapsed.
Yeah, it could collapse.
So they're challenging it from that point of view, like, post the plane going in, why has it then just collapsed
But aren't
structurally?
all buildings designed in a way that it collapses in amongst itself?
I don't know. I can't speak for that.
I think
I'm not a structural engineering that way.
I'm pretty sure most buildings, if they're going to collapse, they will collapse.
I mean, they will collapse,
way.
but I don't know if it was meant to be in that.
But how else?
There were theories that obviously there was bombs inside the buildings as well that caused the buildings to collapse as well.
Is the theory it shouldn't have collapsed?
It shouldn't have collapsed in the way that it did. The building shouldn't have, collapsed in the way that it did. Structurally, it doesn't make sense.
I think I'm going to disagree with that point because
These are people just challenging the idea.
The way it's collapsed that's how it would have been engineered to collapse. And I mean,
I'm not saying that it would have been, it's not engineered to collapse in that way, but the impact of the plane.
Yeah. The building shouldn't have collapsed.
That's
what, I've heard that theory.
It's not that the building shouldn't have collapsed, it's the impact of the building will collapse if something causes it to collapse. They're saying, I think that the impact of the plane didn't cause it to collapse. It could have been a bomb inside the building or something else like that.
My view on that is the plane flying at that speed would have damaged the structural integrity of that building, and hence it's gonna have a likelihood to collapse.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not an engineer, so I think from that point of view, I probably disagree. But anyway,
I guess the last point for this is that there's been this like real cultural framing, and I feel like, and the war on terror, where 9/11 marked this like broader narrative, in my opinion, of the West versus Islam.
Yeah.
And we never really heard of that before. We never really heard of like terrorism or terrorist attacks, and whether these terrorist attacks have been like genuinely happened, or like also mercenaries potentially going about them through means of government funded money. There's been a rise in terrorism, increased tensions, increased polarization. There's growth of extremist groups that are linked to instability from wars that we see. It just feels that it's given a pretense to divide us more as people as well. It's like, it's the Muslims, it's Islam, it's this, it's their ideology, and it's sort of like, it's such a divide that's only come from that precursor.
Yeah, but then I think you're talking about kind of, I agree with you that I feel like obviously
it kind of like subliminally it implements into your subconscious, like it was the Muslims that done this. The Muslims are against the West, and it's kind of like really created this divide of like where the West and Islam and West like anti-America, death to America that we see, and I really think
so. Basically, it's another reason is to divide the people.
Yeah, divide
and conquer.
It can allow the world to take shape in a certain direction to create more polarization between communities and like.
Okay, I think let's wrap this up. But to summarize, I think going back to the whole COVID, I think there is something there that you could say, regarding how life has been post
Impacted.
and
It wasn't just a
the
random pandemic.
whole wealth division now.
And also, I would expect the people in power to be more competent than they have shown.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. Epstein, again, I think just 100% to something
Deeper and darker.
deeper and darker. 9/11, I probably disagree with you on the view that it was an inside job. But that's what we do. We live. We don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah, we live in a world where we can agree to disagree and actually have our own opinions, which
Yeah.
is the beauty of it. Obviously, with conspiracy theories, don't go down rabbit holes too much. Don't obsess over them too much. Be open to different opinions and people's ways of thinking, but
Yeah, I think it's important to challenge and
it's own
question
challenge.
everything.
Don't think your view is the right view.
But
Don't think
also,
it's the only view.
don't all fact check things as well. Don't just believe everything that you see
But the
online.
thing is that if we do spend time fact checking everything, this is the thing I realize. You got your own life to live.
But
You still got your problems. You still need to pay your bills.
Yeah.
You still need to, go to work. If you're just spending your time obsessing over conspiracy theories, you're just going to be chasing your own tail.
Yeah, exactly. All right, perfect. Again,
And if you
thank
have,
Well,
if you have any conspiracy theories, if you have any views on these conspiracy theories, any other ones, make sure you comment. I want to hear them.
and make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you very much.